My family thinks I'm crazy, but I hear voices accusing me of terrible things. They claim to control me. I'm terrified. I recently began to hear voices. Throughout my life, I have been mentally stable and resilient. However, shortly after Halloween 2024, they started. I am under the impression that I am being observed, tailed, and harassed. Sometimes, the voices take the forms of people from my past with whom I do not have a positive relationship, and at other times they appear as complete strangers. They provide various explanations for their targeting of me, subjecting me to an ongoing, self-sustaining guessing game about their identities. They claim to possess total control over me, asserting that they can command me to forget things, and I comply. They express their disdain for me, saying things like, "This is why we detest you, you stupid person." They insult my appearance every time I glance in a mirror, declaring that I am repulsive. They observe me during private moments, such as using the bathroom, and mock me for my expressions. They scrutinize me while I shower, criticizing how I clean myself. They continuously remind me how unattractive I have become. They tell me I will never be attractive again, comparing my past beauty to my present ugliness. They urge me to quit using substances, labeling me as an addict. They accuse me of being a child abuser, often referencing Casey Anthony. They insist they will hinder my ability to achieve anything in life. They torment me daily, claiming they can hear my thoughts and respond by ridiculing or belittling me. They tell me I deserve to be in misery and that I should not be alive. They insult me repeatedly each day. They accuse me of being a hypocrite when speaking to others. They assert that I am incompetent in everything. They criticize my self-perception, insisting that I am delusional for believing I excel at anything. They inform me that my two older children no longer love me. They have been living with their father for the past year due to my circumstances becoming too detrimental for them. They taunt that their fathers never loved me, threatening that they would not have had children with me if they had known how inadequate I was. They claim they are the reason I hit rock bottom and lost my looks. They assert that I am no longer a person of value. They say they have been implanting subliminal messages in my mind for years, scattering my thoughts. They proclaim they will end my life in different ways, ensuring no one will realize it was planned, framing it instead as an outcome of my substance use that resulted in health problems leading to my demise, all while they poison me. They assert they contaminate my personal care products and food with harmful substances. They claim to assault me in my sleep, leading to unexplained wounds that resemble burns or bruises. Recently, they informed me they kicked me in my kidney while I was asleep, which felt sore afterward. They allege they put me under anesthesia during sleep to insert objects into my body. I have had irregular bowel movements recently. Sometimes I wake up feeling inexplicably awful or with discomfort around my intimate areas. They say they introduce drugs or toxic materials into my body and that they spread dog feces powder throughout my home. They anticipate my sentences to portray me as incapable of completing them without assistance. They criticize my actions, asking, "What are you doing?" They threaten to prevent my hair from growing long enough to be tied back again. Though I have my moments of embarrassment, I am not the monster they portray me to be. They appear as vigilantes against child abuse, yet I am not a child abuser. They assert that nobody cares for me and that my family detests me. They tell me I am excessively indulgent when I eat, and they scold me for showing any weakness, which has driven me to counter their statements. This has incentivized me to improve my situation and reduce my substance use. However, their behavior remains cruel. They claim it is for the benefit of my children. My little ones desire their mother back. They manipulate my personality against me, declaring that I need to mature and that I lack humor. They say I am a joke. They assert that I only do what they permit me to do. If they disapprove of my actions, they harass me in ways that destabilize my mental state, preventing me from completing the tasks they oppose. They penalize me whenever I revert to my harmful habits. They have threatened to sell me for my organs. They claim they have already done so and only need to make me healthy first. They intend to give me the illusion of recovery, encouraging me to feel better, then take my life when my faith in myself is restored. I would begin feeling positive and hopeful about my future, only for it to end abruptly. They claim I will never see my children again. I have sought assistance from my family while feeling distressed, but they do not believe me. I was convinced that my ex was harassing me. The previous year, 2023, he returned after our breakup in 2020, promising to co-parent, but instead destroying my life and making me appear as a delusional drug-addicted mother. It felt like a secret revenge scheme where he enlisted others to portray me inaccurately. Due to my naturally antisocial demeanor and my substance use in recent years, everyone he spoke to about me easily accepted his narrative. He manipulated circumstances to keep me in a heightened state for months. During this time, my electricity and appliances acted erratically. My neighbor's apartment flooded because of a leak in mine, and he seemed to have secured a neighbor who sided with him due to his deceit. This neighbor was the same person he was cheating on me with, lying directly to my face. I discovered over 500 messages between them ridiculing me, including intimate videos he sent her. They lied to law enforcement, leading to my arrest on false charges after I reported him for assault. A week following my arrest, she unprovokedly confronted me in the middle of the night. Her son vandalized my vehicle with a skateboard, and I cannot fathom what triggered her anger. Despite everything, I tried to maintain a cooperative approach for the sake of our children. He would deprive me of my car keys, battery, and phone, making it impossible for me to leave until my car was eventually stolen. Later, I uncovered evidence linking him to the vehicle's theft. I escaped and obtained a restraining order, but he had accomplished so much of his suspected revenge plot. I was recuperating and beginning to heal for the initial part of 2024, but when I moved into a new apartment, paranoia set in. Odd events began occurring. I discovered items in the passenger seat and the tracks of my car's seats. Objects went missing from my home, including 2 of my iPhones within 3 months devices I was certain I had not misplaced. I returned to find my water heater and dishwasher turned off, and the insulating seals on my windows and doors compromised. The seal on my fridge was damaged too, causing it to operate harder than when I moved in. Despite my efforts to keep my new carpets clean, they became dingy quickly, even though I took every precaution to maintain them. My car's radio touchscreen suddenly required a password, which I had never set, rendering it inaccessible. The next day, that password mysteriously vanished. My new clothing items quickly lost their freshness. I have struggled to keep up with laundry, finding that my clean clothes often get mixed with the dirty ones or that items I just washed appeared in the laundry basket. I felt my clothes were itchy, trying to dismiss it as paranoia due to my past trauma. However, when my daughter mentioned the same issue, it heightened my suspicions about my dryer being tampered with. Inspecting the dryer revealed insulation behind the panel, which I removed, leading to an end of the itchy clothing problem. My laundry retained a wet dog smell, and an excessive amount of dog hair appeared in the lint trap, even though I do not own a dog. A visiting dog had minimal shedding. I have replaced my locks several times, each time experiencing damage at the base that made key entry difficult due to slight grooving. One day, while at a trampoline park with my daughter, the voices claimed they exposed me with false accusations locally, and shortly after, the lights in the entire facility turned off except for a red spotlight directly above me. Alarmed, I hurried to the bathroom and informed my daughter we needed to leave. While washing my hands, I heard a loud noise resonate against the mirror from the opposite side. I attempted to rationalize it as a result of my mental struggles, convincing myself it was imaginary, but my daughter's reaction confirmed otherwise. As we exited the bathroom, we encountered 2 men emerging from a hallway behind it, glaring at me with hostility. On another occasion, while stretching in silence at home, my phone's screen suddenly went dark during a meditation video, causing me to feel uneasy. After that, a loud noise came from the phone. Initially assuming the video resumed, I grew anxious when the screen remained dark, prompting me to retire for the night. Yet another instance occurred when I was scrolling through my phone, my brightness completely down, when it unexpectedly surged to maximum brightness before reverting to my previous setting. As I type this, the brightness and tone of my screen shift between settings. At times, I am convinced I can hear noises from the crawl space while home alone and my daughter is asleep. I don't doubt my perceptions, however, my family does. One particularly eventful night left me extremely unsettled. I suspect my child's father is executing a plan to ruin my life. I believe he has had continuous access to my accounts, monitoring me since our breakup in 2020. In his view, I ruined his life by ending our relationship after his irresponsible drug use and poor management of priorities led to turmoil. His response to my decision was one of anger. He feels I was cruel for choosing to leave him. I sought understanding and forgiveness, wanting to co-parent amicably. However, I simply could not tolerate the consequences of his substance abuse or be helpless, as his choices adversely affected me and my children. I feel he became infuriated after I began using drugs and mismanaging my life a year or so after we split. Despite my growing issues, I still prioritized paying bills and being a responsible mother, although my overall performance declined. I still remained focused on my responsibilities, accepting accountability for my own shortcomings. However, I did not waste our rent on excessive spending. My struggle was thinking I could maintain normalcy while using drugs, resulting in poor handling of certain aspects of my life, resulting in issues such as being late getting the kids to school or not finishing college assignments on time. I would allow my daughter to attend school with unkempt hair too often or neglect proper bedtimes for my kids. Nevertheless, every morning, the well-being of my children was paramount. All my actions revolved around them. I simply could not fulfill my parental responsibilities adequately due to my substance use. My ex is not one to concede defeat easily, and I suspect he harbors ulterior motives in his return, seeking to inflict upon me the same pain he believes I caused him, all while attempting to have my children removed from my care. This effort ultimately failed, as I chose to send my older children to their father for stability due to the chaos he created in our home and my mental state. Returning to the subject of the voices, I have continuously pleaded with my family regarding the strange occurrences and the voices I experience, insisting that they are not manifestations of drugs or mental health issues, but rather my ex's attempts to undermine me and take my children. The terror I have felt throughout the latter half of 2024 has led me to assert that these experiences are real. Unfortunately, my previous substance use and tumultuous history with him give them ample reason to dismiss my claims, causing me to feel as though I am losing touch with reality. The doctor's assessments may deem me mentally unstable, as I am hearing voices. However, I have thoroughly researched the existence of methods that can induce voice hearing, manipulate brain signals, and affect one's nervous system. I realize I may sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I possess several credible references showcasing that this technology exists. I can provide evidence backing my assertions, having witnessed peculiar activity on my accounts, including instances of an iPhone 14 Pro Max being logged into my account multiple times, despite my use of an iPhone 14 Plus. Regrettably, my theory falls outside the realm of acceptability, leading me to seek professional mental health support. Though they diagnosed me with major depression accompanied by psychotic features, I was prescribed 2 medications, one for depression and another aimed at alleviating the voices. I have taken them consistently for nearly a month and have another appointment scheduled for the 10th of this month with my psychiatrist. I have noticed a significant improvement in my depression since starting the medication. While I remain deeply depressed, the medications have alleviated some burdens, making daily functioning much easier than a few weeks ago. It has been a blessing to feel some relief from the weight of my sadness, which no longer feels as insurmountable. Nevertheless, the voices have yet to relent. I continue to grapple with addiction, yet the fear instilled by the dialogue from these voices has encouraged me to cut back and stay sober for several days. In a sense, I have begun to view these voices as harsh motivators, compelling me to defy their negative claims about me. I still possess a firm grasp on reality and am capable of caring for my daughter, myself, and maintaining my home, and I even feel prepared to re-enter the workforce. I acknowledge that believing someone is orchestrating these events is likely perceived as far-fetched by most, but certain experiences I have had cannot be solely attributed to mental illness. The evidence I have collected aligns with the narrative I have constructed, and while I hope it is all merely a construct of my mind, I am not entirely convinced that it is. There are, however, positive developments to emerge from this situation. I have been compelled to reflect upon the things said to me, leading me to steer clear of anything resembling those statements. Beyond motivating me to improve myself, I have cultivated a desire to learn everything about cybersecurity, coding, and computers, to the point that I have committed to pursuing a formal education in these fields, solidifying my future career path. Story 2. Recurring dreams about cheating on my fiancé left me longing for connection. I realized I've wasted years of my life in this toxic cycle. I will endeavor to keep this brief, but I apologize in advance if it becomes lengthy. I really just need to express my thoughts and obtain an external viewpoint. I have been experiencing dreams about infidelity involving my fiancé, which leads me to believe that my subconscious might be craving something fresh or different. These dreams have varied between being sexual and non-sexual, and I consistently awaken longing for the fabricated individual my mind devised, who seems to fit me perfectly, or at least better than my current partner. Here is some background information. We have been together for more than 9 years. We share a 15-month-old daughter, and I am currently 20 weeks pregnant with our second daughter. Early in our relationship, he engaged in infidelity and deceitful behavior. He kissed his ex and connected with a woman online, which I discovered only when she publicly tagged him in a photo on Instagram. Additionally, he got romantically involved with 2 coworkers at different jobs. He spent months flirting with another ex behind my back and made inappropriate comments on her social media posts. He has also texted and engaged in sexual conversations with several female customers from a previous job. I did not leave because I was young and naive, justifying his actions by believing that he had not had sexual intercourse with any of these women, a fact I was able to verify. Several years into our relationship, after we moved in together, it appeared that he began to settle down, and things were acceptable for a period. That is when his addiction to pornography began. Initially, I was not bothered by it, but it turned compulsive. He subscribed to adult content sites. His Instagram feed became populated with scantily clad women. His Reddit was cluttered with numerous adult material, and he followed many girls. I even caught him spending $30 for access to a girl's private Snapchat account, all while I pleaded with him to cease this behavior and turn to me instead when he felt the urge to be intimate. He would sneak into the bathroom multiple times a day to engage in this behavior, and it was devastating. Even simply scrolling through social media felt like he was viewing pornography. He often expressed remorse and vowed to change, but the cycle would repeat itself. He then met a woman who visited his workplace and later contacted the store asking for his phone number. He could have declined her advances by stating that he was engaged, but he did not. Instead, he led her to believe he was single and suggested we were in the process of separating. I learned about her when a text from her appeared on his phone, and he promised not to communicate with her any longer. However, he continued the correspondence, claiming they were just friends having casual chats, despite the fact that all their messages were deleted. As a result, I contacted this woman, and she graciously provided me with numerous screenshots of their exchanges, in which he made inappropriate comments like, "I am going to book us a hotel so I can take care of you," among other distressing remarks. She revealed that he had told her on several occasions that we had ended our relationship and that she had become suspicious when he instructed her not to message him first in the mornings. I was at work when I received these screenshots, and I ended up leaving early, asking him to pick me up because we needed to have a conversation. I informed him that I was ending our relationship, that he needed to pack his belongings and leave, and that I was exhausted from the deception and could no longer trust him. He pleaded, cried, and insisted that nothing like this would ever occur again, asking for another opportunity. He removed all the women from his Instagram account, deleted all of his Reddit profiles, and granted me access to his Google account history and location. He sobbed and insisted he had nowhere to go, that I was his entire world, a classic sob story. I agreed to give him a few weeks to figure out his next steps. Then I discovered I was pregnant. What impeccable timing, right? I chose to stay. I realize it was foolish, but I struggled to see a way to support a child on my own and hoped that perhaps he would take responsibility now that I was expecting. And he did change considerably during my pregnancy. He treated me with kindness, and I know you may find this hard to believe, but it genuinely felt as if he had transformed into a different person. All the issues that had troubled our relationship previously ceased. He spent any free time not at work sending me memes, and he dedicated his time to massaging my feet and cooking for me to ensure my comfort. I thought I had finally struck gold after searching for so long. Our daughter was born at 34 weeks due to the development of preeclampsia. She spent 15 days in the neonatal intensive care unit, and he drove me to the hospital daily to visit her, being supportive in every conceivable way after my C-section. Things were going well. We were a blissful family welcoming a new member. However, a few weeks after our daughter returned home from the hospital, it seemed my fiancé began to neglect his nighttime caregiving responsibilities. I was almost always the one waking up with her, which I didn't mind since he was working and I was at home. However, at times I felt utterly exhausted from lack of sleep, and when I asked for assistance, he began responding with, "I have to work tomorrow. It is your responsibility to attend to her." I developed severe postpartum depression, and we argued frequently. I felt as though I was pleading for help while he maintained that it was my duty, reminding me that, "You wanted to be a mother. This is what you signed up for, and I don't have you come to take over at my job when I get tired," which deeply wounded and infuriated me. I started to resent him, struggling to comprehend how he could be so unkind and indifferent after demonstrably changing so much during my pregnancy. As time progressed, old habits resurfaced. His Instagram feed began to fill up again with pictures of women. I discovered multiple links to adult content sites within his history, and the Reddit accounts resurfaced. When our daughter was 11 months old, I learned I was pregnant once more, and he started going to the bar after work, lying to me by claiming he had to work late, or that he was dealing with a longer day. A few days ago, he came home extremely intoxicated, ignoring my calls and texts for over 2 hours, during which I genuinely feared he might have been in an accident or something dire had occurred, as this was not like him. At that moment, some inner feeling snapped. I'm not abusive and never have been. However, I began striking him in the chest repeatedly, overwhelmed with rage and despair, crying and screaming, while he stood there with an empty expression. That was when I realized, this man truly does not care about me, does he? I have continually issued ultimatums, but it appears he is indifferent now, as the same patterns repeat, and I never walk away. I have been a stay-at-home mother since the birth of our first child, and I am beginning to believe that his granting me the privilege of not working serves as his way of maintaining control, while he continues to emotionally abuse and manipulate me. I am entirely financially reliant on him at this juncture, pregnant with our second child, and I doubt anyone would employ me at this point. Even if they would, I have no one to care for my daughter while I work. I lack friendships, and my sole friend is in an abusive relationship, making it impossible for me to subject myself and my daughter to that situation if I were to seek refuge elsewhere. I have cut off contact with my parents due to their highly narcissistic and abusive behavior, leaving me also unable to turn to them for support, and the rest of my family resides far away out of state. I feel trapped and am experiencing profound depression. Thoughts of suicide frequently cross my mind. The only reason I have not acted on them is because of my children. I cannot bear the thought of putting them through that. I grew up in a highly abusive and toxic environment, and I do not want them to experience the same as I did, living with parents who constantly argue. We have our good days, my fiancé and I, but those moments do not compensate for the bad days, and they never will. I doubt I will ever be able to trust him again. Even if he underwent a miraculous transformation and sought years of therapy or other measures people take to salvage their relationships, I believe it would never be possible for me to feel the same way as before. I have no desire to be intimate with him, do not wish to kiss him, and when he attempts to cuddle with me, I feel repulsed. I cannot afford therapy, cannot secure transportation for work, and have no desire to reside in a shelter. I feel entirely stuck, and it is difficult to summon the motivation to even rise from bed, let alone find employment, dress myself, and engage with the world daily. I simply wish to retreat into bed. I feel as though I am doomed to spend the rest of my life in unhappiness, as if fate dealt me a poor hand that is glued to my fingers. I recognize that I should have left years ago, but I did not, and that is a mistake I must now live with. I adore my daughter, S, deeply, but I wish I had never become pregnant. I wish I had continued working. I feel that I could have left by now had circumstances been different. I am lost and uncertain about the right course of action. Lately, I have experienced recurring dreams of infidelity involving my fiancé. Past dreams have been sexual in nature, but last night, I had an entirely different experience. I visited the home of an attractive young man, perhaps a bit younger than myself, and we simply spent time together. He took an interest in my preferences, posed many questions, and we sat on his couch conversing for hours while cuddling. I don't even believe we kissed. Upon waking from this dream, I felt a profound emptiness. I missed him, despite the fact that he was entirely a construct of my imagination. I wished I could return to that moment. I yearned to feel secure, comfortable, and cherished. I find myself tearing up as I reflect on this, as I long to experience the love and attention I felt in my dream. It offered me a glimmer of hope that perhaps someone out there could elicit those feelings in me. I awoke with a desire to cheat, which I acknowledge is wrong and something I would never genuinely pursue. Yet, I started contemplating that perhaps it would serve as a means to escape, allowing me to eventually meet someone else. I don't have clarity on this. I suspect it is simply my mind compensating for what I lack in reality, and I am uncertain if I could genuinely go through with leaving. I feel confused. I am not quite sure what I am seeking. Perhaps all I need is advice or even just a friendly ear. I have spent years attempting to change my fiancé, to educate him on how to love me properly, and I am finally coming to terms with the realization that such a change will never materialize. Story 3. Since March, my boyfriend's family has ignored me, especially after I stood up for him. Now they're pretending I don't exist. Hello, everyone. I have been a long-time observer of this community and have not shared my thoughts previously. I am seeking an unbiased viewpoint since all the feedback I have received has come from my friends, mother, and therapist. My boyfriend, who is 22 years old, lives with his 26-year-old sister and her 25-year-old husband. He shares a close bond with both his sister and brother-in-law, as they have been together since he was 12. Unfortunately, my relationship with them has deteriorated since March, with a significant drop in our interactions occurring in August when I defended my boyfriend during a bizarre family dispute. To summarize, he often acts as the mediator within his family, and his gentle nature leads to him being overwhelmed by them. This time, he stood up for himself, and I supported him. I am genuinely perplexed as to why this change occurred, apart from the theories suggested by my mother, friends, and therapist. Being autistic, I heavily rely on direct communication, which makes navigating this situation particularly difficult for me. I admit I have played a part in this decline by stopping my attempts to start conversations, as our exchanges had become quite one-sided, leaving me feeling emotionally exhausted. Consequently, I began focusing my time and energy on friends who reach out to me and genuinely inquire about my well-being. I previously thought I was close to my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, but it became clear they did not engage in even the simplest exchanges of, "How are you?" Nor did they show any real interest in me as an individual. My sister-in-law has made some subtle, passive-aggressive remarks regarding my education, which I believe has intensified the tensions. After those comments, I ceased discussing my studies with her. I am an art major and would share my work in our apartment group chat for my boyfriend and roommates to see. After the remarks, I opted to send updates and images exclusively to my boyfriend. It appears they struggle with maintaining boundaries and respecting personal choices, such as my medication restrictions that prevent me from consuming alcohol, which my sister-in-law did not take well. We have also experienced some unsettling incidents. Initially, my sister-in-law told me that they would include me on the lease without requiring any financial contribution to protect my living situation while I attend college. In retrospect, that seemed too good to be true, and at the last moment, my brother-in-law informed me that it would not occur, and they refused to elaborate further. Another instance involved my sister-in-law insisting for over a year that she and her husband intended to purchase a home in our home state, allowing my boyfriend to stay with them indefinitely. Recently, however, my brother-in-law has informed him that they are relocating to a different state where we have no family ties and that he would build us a house for free if we want to live with them. With all due respect, that is not practical. Accepting their offer would only heighten the existing power dynamic issues we currently face. They waited until I was out of the house to discuss this with my boyfriend. Also, I should clarify that I return home on weekends, while their schedules do not consistently align with that. During several significant emergencies and crises, they did not check on me. Meanwhile, my sister-in-law would inquire about me through my boyfriend, despite us all living in the same apartment. It feels as if the communication has been slowly diminishing to the point where this week they have completely disregarded my presence in the apartment, almost acting as if I do not exist. For additional context, I used to feel very distressed about our previous closeness because I often experienced a lack of equality in our relationship, feeling like an afterthought. I attributed this to various factors, such as being the youngest and not living with them. My boyfriend has always been exceptionally supportive and has attempted to include me, reassuring me that I am welcomed there. However, while it reassures me that I am wanted by him, it does not feel the same concerning his sister and brother-in-law. It is crucial to mention that I have not shared any of these feelings with my boyfriend, as I would feel devastated if I put him in a position where he had to choose between me and his sister, particularly since they share such a close bond. I do not want to interfere with that relationship, intentionally or unintentionally. I worry that my actions may be exacerbating the situation, even though my mother, friends, and therapist support my decisions. I do not want to adversely affect my boyfriend's housing situation, and he seems increasingly stressed, which I attribute to the unusual dynamic in the apartment, though he attributes his stress to financial issues, regardless of his actual financial status. We have not discussed the current dynamic, especially the events of this week when his sister and brother-in-law ignored my existence in front of him. I have consciously chosen to process my feelings separately from him. My mother suggested that he might be experiencing similar emotions, but is unable to address them due to the lack of emotional safety in his living environment. I am already attempting to prepare for the possibility of my boyfriend moving in with me in the future. The potential relocation would severely disrupt my boyfriend's work circumstances if it occurs soon, as his commute would significantly worsen, and mine would also be affected if it happens before I complete my degree. I strive to maintain a positive outlook, focusing on the potential benefits that could arise and considering this as a blessing in disguise, with the hope that after this turmoil, things will improve. Nonetheless, it is undeniably challenging in the present moment. Therefore, I am here to ask, am I overlooking something? Should I simply continue to endure this challenging period, knowing that there is a light at the end of the tunnel? How can I best support my boyfriend, as I already have substantial support on my end? Those around me have suggested that I disregard my sister-in-law and brother-in-law and their antics, of which there have indeed been many, and concentrate on my relationship with my boyfriend and our individual goals. I welcome any additional questions in the comments. If you have taken the time to read this, I appreciate it. Writing this has been somewhat therapeutic, and I am grateful for any responses in advance. Summary: my boyfriend's family has started to ignore me after I disrupted their family dynamic, and this has become burdensome. I cannot discuss this with my boyfriend to avoid straining his relationship with his sister and his housing situation. How can I support both myself and him? Additionally, my boyfriend and I have been together for 4.5 years, and he has been living with his sister and brother-in-law for 2.5 years. Although there were minor issues, things have only worsened over the last year.